Hey guys, Mike here. So got another jam-packed video for you, and one thing we were definitely learning is how strong the consumer is. Not only are we talking about Black Friday sales, Cyber Monday sales, but also something else I'm going to show you which really surprised me. And I've kind of known that we keep running up credit cards, but this one I did not expect for sure. And then I'm going to show you a couple things here, which one's pretty cool actually. We'll see if it actually pans out or not with this chart showing the S&P, which has been following this track that's been set on for quite a while now. And if it pans out, it's going to be a pretty good year-end rally. But make no mistake, today was all about window dressing, and I'll show you what I mean on that. Now, the thing that surprised me the most was yesterday was the busiest day ever at airports in the U.S., with the TSA reporting 2,884,783 people screened. I mean, that is absolutely shocking to me that yesterday would be the most traveled. But hey, what do we keep talking about? We continue to travel. Even better was it was also an incredibly smooth day of travel with fewer than 0.5%, 51,332 scheduled flights canceled. We know we had a big issue with that all year long. So we are spending online for sure. Don't know about the stores themselves. And we are still traveling, right? And a chart to really look at, I want to see if this plays out or not, is this one right here with the S&P. And it's the average S&P 500 pass since 1950, and then the 2023 S&P 500 pass so far. And you can see that's where we're at right now. That is the path. You can kind of see what I'm talking about when it comes to end of November, first 10 to 12 days. I was telling members this morning, maybe seeing a pullback or weakness or whatever before you get that Santa Claus rally and that year-end trajectory. And make no mistake about it, I mean, you're going to see this a lot more, but it was definitely window dressing today, which I talked about in Saturday's video. And why do I say that? Because the Mag 7 were number 2 on this. I put this as a sector, by the way. It's not an actual sector, but I like to put it in here, compare it, right? Real estate we know about because mortgage rates are going down, XLK. You can see the PCST, which is the small cap tech, not so hot. Everything else just red, of course. But this is just that time where hedge fund window dress, which of course we talked about is just hedge funds getting into these Mag 7, maybe other stocks too, to try to ride up this Santa Claus rally to make it look like the fund performed much better than it actually did, because you won't know when they got in those stocks or anything like that. And so they can go, come on in my fund. I did a great job. Give me your money. Right? That's what you're seeing right here. Now, when it comes to small caps, once again, so we're looking at the breadth of the market. Is it still expanding, right? And I'll go ahead and tell you RSP and QEW or QQEW, which is the equal weight ETFs for the SPY, and the QQQ perform worse than QQQ and SPY today. And you can see with small caps, I mean, they were really red this morning, did a nice little comeback, but right now, they're just really more than anything kind of consolidating. You're starting to see a little bit of various divergence on the daily RSI right there. You can see that 100 and 200 is coming up quickly right there. I think that's going to be a brick wall to get through most likely, since we've rejected, even though we are in this volume gap right here. And, if we try to, and you can kind of see, I mean, coming down to the MACD, will this roll over? As long as they go below the 100 or the 0 line right there, you should be okay. But again, this is going to let us know if breadth is actually still expanding or taking a break. And one thing you could see, I mean, you see on the hourly, you got like a rising wedge right here. Target where is exactly that trend line, which would be actually a nice place to take off and bounce, because the 50 is there as well. So that would be good confluence to bounce going into the year-end rally if that's what continues. Now, looking at the stocks that benefited from these Black Friday sales and Cyber Monday sales. And guys, before we continue, if you're getting anything out of this, please hit that thumbs up down there. I really appreciate it. And if you like the material here and the videos, think about subscribing. And you can see we talked about this in Sunday's video, right? You got Amazon finally breaking above that trend line, which has been rejected twice. You got this ascending line right now, getting this third touch. We'll see if we can break through that right there. It's been a massive move up right here from 80 to 148. Again, when you look at this, believe it or not, December, you would think it would be the best month for Amazon. It's actually its worst month historically when it performs. And you can see that even on a seasonality chart. Normally it sells off, so you can see almost like a break-even type of scenario. I don't know if that's going to be the case this year, of course. We will have to see. again, you would think it would be the opposite. It just hadn't been, but a lot of big money is flowing into this one, right? It wasn't a Mag 7 before on the old seasonality chart, so we have to keep that in mind. But again, watch 150 on it. Now, Shopify, we talked about this trend line. That's where it got today. Another big move, about 5% up after having some great sales on this one. That trend line I'm talking about goes back to 2018. For those who didn't see yesterday's video, and when you look at it, really 79 right there is going to be really good resistance. Coming out, and you see these gaps, right? I mean, you got all kinds of gaps right there. That if it continues to start to move, which I'm expecting to pull back after hitting this trend line. That's usually when it happens, or at least consolidation. I think pulling down to maybe like 74 now, so maybe like between 68 and 70 would be a nice little pullback, and we'll see if the dip gets bought up. Now, of course, your fintech also was on the move today because you had these buy now, pay later type stocks, and PayPal does that as well. And you can see that bottom of that channel, right? We talked about, is that going to be the bounce? So far, it is the bounce point, right? You got Square, what is that, like 9 or 10 straight green candles on this one. And so that's another one that did really well. And this one's moved up 53% in 27 days. So a huge move up. Again, 62, 67 will be really nice resistance for this one right here. If we go over and look at its moving averages, that's also, right below that's going to be the 200. So it's going to run into its 200 coming up here probably tomorrow or the next day. So we'll see if it can get through it. Or do you finally see a breather, maybe move back down to the 100 to get a bounce there, because it has had a huge move. And then going over to Affirm, this is definitely a buy now, pay later company. It was up 15% this morning, dropped down to be up around 8 and 9%. And when you look at this one, this was the one, it has this familiar rounding bottom we've seen in so many stocks that started to move up and everything. And if you're looking at levels, $30 is going to be your first price target. Then you're going to be $38.75 will be another one. Again, this one is in that uptrend and everything. This is not fundamentals, it's straight technicals for this one. You can see it's getting past most of its resistance right there. So again, 30 and then right below 40 is going to be your next target if this continues to move up or not. I'm not sure how this one performed in December. You see that chart is just a hot mess right there, and it's only been around since 2021. Now looking at Tesla, this is a short-term time frame. You can see huge sell-off this morning. Again, between that 231, 233 area, you've seen multiple bounces right over the last week. Got another one today, right? Comes up and then turns 233.40 into support, bounces up again. And so it didn't even reach prior day's high, which would have been Friday or anything. But, when you look at what this one's really doing, and you can see, even on the short-term volume profile, around 241, 242 would be nice support. But again, you're in this big wedge. But even on the smaller time frame, let me go back to a smaller time frame to put this in. What are you really seeing here? Again, for like the third time in a row here, it looks like it's just wedging, right? Trying to wedge itself in for an explosive move. A lot of people are betting on this to move up. You can put this back here or up there at the front if you want to. But either way, how many times have we seen this over the last 10 days, right? This wedging formation, which gives you an explosive move. So definitely look for that prior week's high to get taken out. If this moves up, because I showed you the seasonality, it's when it usually gets strong. And again, if we move down and break 231.34, expect 225 to come back into play on this one. If it does break prior week's high, 244, look for 250 on Tesla. Now, looking at Google, once again, what does it love to move in? Rising wedges. This has had a nice quiet move up. You can see it just moving. It got to that trend line right there. Does it mean this thing's going to break down? But you remember before, that's what happened. Had a huge rising wedge. Ended up breaking down, so we did get the breakdown. And so again, that support line, or which was support line, is now resistance for Google. And it's just moving up very, very small increments and stuff like that. And if we really zoom out, you can see how far that trend line goes back. So again, support for quite a while, now resistance. And when we pull on the weekly, there's all-time highs. So it's not even that far. 150 is all-time highs. We're sitting around 137 right now. And so not even that much to get to all-time highs. Again, had a nice move up, and it's now less than 10% away, which is very surprising. Google is not a stock that a lot of people talk about, but this is very good resistance level it's at right now. So if you're going to see a pullback, it's definitely going to be right here for sure. If it gets through there, no doubt the air is thin. And I mean, it's Google, so it's not going to like move like Tesla or Meta or any of the rest of them. But I definitely see all-time highs coming in the next 45 days. It will not surprise me a bit. Now, where is money starting to go to again over the last few weeks? It's going into emerging markets. I know somebody, I think it was one of our members that mentioned, what is it? Is it Venezuela, one of those countries down in South America, got a new president, and their stocks are just going off the charts right now. Even some Chinese stocks are moving up. Bob is not one of them, but even some of those stocks are moving up. So just kind of keep that in mind. And of course, Bob, as you can see, is not one of these stocks. Again, that trend line now resistance, he's bouncing down, but it's in this demand zone, which goes back quite a bit. And so you either get the bounce here or watch out down below, right? And again, a lot of Chinese stocks have had good runs, but this one is just not one of them. So investors are not liking it. The fact they delayed the spinoff, and I mean, it made sense why they delayed it and stuff, but again, it's just not one of these. It's getting a lot of play right now, and you see it's got a boatload of resistance above it as well. And when it comes to earnings tomorrow, you're looking at some bigger names in the afternoon. Again, in the morning you have a couple, but in the afternoon, that's when you're going to have CrowdStrike, Intuit, and Splunk coming out. So nothing that's going to move markets or anything like that. But when it comes to economic data, again, you got a lot this week. A lot of stuff about the housing sector. S&P Case-Shiller home prices are going to be a big one. CB consumer confidence is going to be another one. Then you'll have the Richmond Fed manufacturing data coming out as well. That's going to be after the bell, so keep an eye on that one to try to maybe move markets and stuff. Also going to do the services. Then you'll have the Dallas Fed Services Index, Dallas Fed Services revenues. And then, of course, there's going to be Fed President speaking all day long. And I thought what was funny, though, is, you have this data about travel and sales and all this good stuff. And so it's a strong consumer, right? Which means strong economy. And yet yields continue to sell off. And the market was kind of all over the place, red, green, small caps, of course, red most of the day. So you're still kind of watching how the market is, taking in this data, because remember, all it's going to use is as an excuse, right, where it wants the market to go. So if it wants to sell us off, going from, let's say, today, maybe going into December 10th, it's going to use that to say, well, the consumer's strong, market's strong, we got to sell down because they might do a Fed rate hike December 13th. This just will happen when weakness usually happens in December. A Fed meeting is literally right after that, which, of course, they don't raise rates. Where do you think the market's going? All right, it's going to go up because it's going to be the pause rally thing, right? That's what we've been on this whole time. And so, remember, it's all just an excuse of how they want to do it and stuff. But the fact that yields were down today, and even the dollar at one point in time, and markets were still mostly red. So far, you got your Mag 7 pulling everything up, and a lot of other sectors were red, as I showed you. It was definitely interesting to see and everything. But again, window dressing, setting up for a Santa Claus rally. I mean, that's pretty much where we're at, unless there's some crazy surprise. And yes, if they do raise on December 13th, the markets will tank for sure. No ifs, ands, or buts about that, because this is the Fed pause rally. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So anyway, hope you guys got something out of it. Hit that like and subscribe button. Appreciate all you guys. As always, have a great night, and I will see you tomorrow.